So, 1 week before the Taken King, Bungie dropped update 2.0 on us to help us get ready for Destiny Year 2. I immediately dove into the Crucible because I wanted to see how the weapons and tactics that have been dominating in the Crucible the past few months hold up to the Year 2 changes. Here's what I found. Oh, and before I get into it, I know that with the Taken King coming out, Year 1 weapons won't have attack values as high as Year 2 weapons, but remember that in every Crucible playlist except for Trials and Iron Banner, that it won't matter, and in regular Crucible game types, Year 1 weapons will be just as usable as Year 2. Okay, here we go. To start off, let's take a look at the top primary weapons that were dominating in the Crucible at the end of Year 1. First, we're going to look at how many shots each weapon takes to kill in Year 2 compared to Year 1. Then we're going to take a closer look at both THORN and the Last Word specifically to see how their range and overall effectiveness have changed. The top PvP weapons I looked at were the Last Word, THORN, Red Death, Hopscotch Pilgrim, and the Messenger. These weapons were all heavily used in PvP at the end of Year 1. Here are the changes. The Last Word now takes 1 additional body shot when shooting from hipfire to get the kill. THORN will no longer kill enemies with 2 quick headshots plus the burn damage over time. The burn damage can stack, but is still reduced, and you now need 3 headshots to kill an enemy. Keep in mind that 3 quick body shots with THORN will still kill an enemy with the burn damage over time. Also, Hopscotch Pilgrim now needs an extra burst to both the body and the head to get the kill. Yep, Bungie has now made the Hopscotch Pilgrim a medium rate of fire pulse rifle, meaning its rate of fire is increased and its damage output was reduced. Kinda sucks for everyone who spent all that time out there grinding for one. Interesting side note, these numbers for shots to kill are now almost completely identical against an enemy wearing the ram. Yep, Bungie mentioned in their 2.0 update that the extra armor granted by the ram was being brought down. Out of these 5 guns, the only one that the ram was able to tank an extra shot from was the Red Death, both in the body and in the head. All the other shots to kill from every gun, including THORN, were exactly the same for an enemy not wearing the ram. I may go into more ram testing in another video, but only after we've given enough time to find out what the new dominant weapons in Year 2 Crucible are. Okay, moving on. Bungie mentioned in their 2.0 patch that they would deliberately be cutting the range for both THORN and the Last Word because they were far too deadly at long range. Let me give you an idea of by how much. This shows the farthest distance that you can be standing with the Last Word while still getting a max damage headshot. Year 1 is on the left and Year 2 is on the right. That's a pretty big difference. You now have to be much closer to get max damage shots in Year 2, almost half the distance. Speaking generally for the Last Word, in the matches I've played so far, it's noticeably more difficult to get kills while aiming down sight. If you want to use the Last Word in Year 2, it looks like you're really going to have to hipfire at close to medium range in order to get the most value out of using the gun. Here's the difference in range for THORN. Again, big difference. Using THORN in PvP was definitely more difficult in Crucible 2.0, especially at a distance. Not only do you have to be closer, but it's noticeably harder to land precision shots quickly. Now, let's take a look at shotguns, which were running wild at the end of Year 1. Bungie nerfed both Shot Package and Rangefinder, but the Year 1 perk that way more people were abusing was definitely Shot Package, so that's what we'll be looking at. The shotgun I tested on was my Max Range, Max Impact Matador. This is the farthest distance that you can be standing from an enemy while still getting a one-shot kill with a Shot Package Matador. Not that big of a difference. I picked up on this real quick in Crucible 2.0. The big bad shotguns of Year 1 are still really deadly. One thing that's different though is the usage of Blink Shotgun due to the 2.0 Blink nerf. When you use Blink in Year 2, there's a delay on how fast you can act right after blinking. In Year 1, you could still manage to aim down sight and shotgun your enemy while pretty high up in the air. In Year 2, you won't be able to aim down sight with your shotgun out of Blink until you're a couple inches from hitting the ground, making Blink Shotgun much harder to pull off. It is worth noting, however, that a Blade Dancer using the perk Quick Draw has a noticeable advantage when using Blink Shotgun in Year 2 because they're able to aim down sight sooner. For all you Voidwalkers who don't have access to Quick Draw, Blink Shotgunning will be a little bit of a challenge. Next up, let's take a look at Proximity Detonation rocket launchers. Almost everyone in Crucible Year 1 was using rocket launchers with the perk Grenades and Horseshoes, and for good reason. Bungie mentioned that they were nerfing the distance of the proximity detonation in the 2.0 patch. This is how close you have to be aiming to an enemy in order for your rocket to detonate via proximity. It's actually not as big a difference as I thought it would be, and I feel like at the moment, proximity detonation rockets will still be a good go-to choice in Year 2. Final Round was also something that was nerfed in 2.0, but there's not really a whole lot to talk about there. The perk will now only activate if you get a headshot with it, which pretty much now makes using Final Round pointless. Moving on, this isn't really a tactic, but it's definitely worth mentioning, the changes made to recovery. Bungie has buffed recovery by increasing the time it takes for your health to recover with low recovery by 1 second and reducing the time it takes for your health to recover with high recovery by 2 seconds. Here's a comparison. Not bad at all. This definitely makes high recovery builds a more appealing option for PvP. Last up, not as big as the other changes, but worth mentioning, the changes to both the Arcbolt Grenade and the Firebolt Grenade, both which were used pretty heavily in the Crucible at the end of Year 1. Both grenades had their damage dropped a little bit, the Arcbolt dropping from 122 to 91, and the Firebolt dropping from 97 to 85. The Firebolt is still just as deadly as it ever was though, as I noticed while testing there was actually a buff to the perk Viking Funeral. The Year 1 Viking Funeral did 10 additional ticks of damage at 7 damage each, and now in Year 2, it's 11 ticks of damage at 7 each. So a Viking Funeral Firebolt Grenade now actually only does 5 damage less than what it used to. Not bad. But the drop in the damage for the Arcbolt Grenade does kinda suck. The damage being brought down to 91 is just enough of a drop to make it so that team grenading an enemy with 2 Arcbolt grenades at once will not kill, which was one of my favorite things to do as a team in Year 1. Oh well. Even with the lower damage, the Arcbolt is still really accurate and a reliable option for picking off weak enemies. Alright guys, that's it for now. I hope you're looking forward to Year 2 as much as I am. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe to my channel and to check out my other work. Don't forget to check me out on Twitch and on YouTube Gaming. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you next time.